Hey folks, how's it going? Although it's only the first of the year, it's the first day of January, and we're still in the middle of winter, I'm already thinking about my gardening season next year, or I should say this year. Uh, I'm really hoping to go a lot more hardcore into my gardening this year, simply because of what I expect is going to be happening, what we can expect over the next couple of years. So gardening for me is one of my primary focuses. But what I've been doing is last night I spent several hours. I was up real late. I was actually up till about 4, almost 5 o'clock in the morning, actually. Partly because I've got some people in the down in the hollow here that there's some Mexicans over there that were playing some really loud music that carried all through the neighborhood from all the way out to 3 or 4 miles away. You could hear it because of the way the land lays. But they were playing their music really loud until about 3:30 in the morning. Anyway, since I was up anyway, I couldn't sleep because of the music. I decided to spend some time looking at some seeds, and I lost track of time. I ended up staying up till about 5:15. But what I was doing was I was looking at a variety of seed catalogs and online seed companies, looking for a large variety of heirloom seeds that I don't have. And specifically, I was looking for old, really old, hard to find heirloom seeds, varieties that you don't normally see everywhere. I've ordered a whole bunch of them. I probably ordered like $60 worth of seed, and my goal is to add that to what I've got. This I had planted last year, but for example, I probably bought about 10 different varieties of corn, a mixture of sweet corn and dent or flour corn. Now, my reason for doing that, you usually can only plant one, maybe two types of corn each year, simply because it's pollinated by the wind, and it can pollinate or cross pollinate, I should say, for up to a mile away. So if you try to grow more than one crop of corn in a year, you have to be very selective about the varieties you grow, as well as the timing of it, because you don't want both of them to come into pollen at the exact same time, because then they'll cross pollinate and you'll have a mess. You won't have anything that's true to seed type. But my thought is each year rotate through different types of corn. One year grow a really good roasting or boiling type corn. The next year grow a large amount of a flour type corn, and just keep rotating. And with me having about 10 varieties of corn, I can keep that rotation going a long time. And the added benefit to that is different plants draw different nutrients from the ground. And while corn is corn and draws a lot of the same nutrients, different varieties might draw in a little bit different way. Some might be a little bit more heavy on certain nutrients than others. But either way, the whole thought process here is to rotate the crops so that I don't completely exhaust my soil, but I keep also a large variety of seed on hand for when everything goes to crap. So yeah, I did that last night. I bought a ton of seed. I'm gonna be adding more to it, and when all that seed comes in, I'm gonna go over it and uh, go through it and talk to you about each variety that I bought, why I bought it, and and talk about my plans for it. And it wasn't just corn seed that I bought. I bought some bean seeds. I bought uh, some melons, watermelons, and muskmelon. I bought some squash, but not the typical squash, not the yellow crookneck or the summer squash or even the butternut squash. Um, and then I found a variety of bean that supposedly was found in a cave in Arizona, sealed in a jar, sealed with pitch. And according to the source that I got it from, the original seed, again, was found in a jar sealed with pitch in a cave out in Arizona. And when it was dated back to like 1,500 years ago. And the seeds were still viable. And people started growing this seed and propagating it and basically saving it from extinction. So I did order some of that seed as well. Uh, I've got a lot of plans for the garden this year. And I think, I can't be sure, but I think I'm actually going to have a lot more time to spend in the garden this year, which is good because aside from my garden that I had last year, which was somewhat neglected, I do plan on expanding. I'm looking at building at least one or two small raised beds, and I'm looking at possibly building a really small greenhouse, at least for seed starting, maybe a 4x5 or something like that, something really small just to start seeds in. So I'm looking at that as well. But also, I'm out here this morning. Now I'd filled up this bin with a bunch of grass clippings and stuff that I was going to compost, and I had this bin about as full as it is now. And I turned it 2 or 3 times, but then I got busy with work and I completely forgot about it. Well, by the time I remembered, uh, get down here where you can see, by the time I remembered, it had gone from being filled up to here to the level being way down here. So what I just did is I dumped the whole thing out. And what was in there was a mixture of matted grass clippings, but also some composted material. It was actually already starting to compost. So what I did was I had a little bit of old potting soil here. I had some leaves, I had some sticks, and I even had some old wheatgrass, wheat mulch, wheat straw. I'll get it right in a minute, folks. I had some wheat straw here. And I mixed all that together along with some more grass clippings and stuff. And as you can see, I even have some green material in it and some weeds. I just started forking that up with my garden fork, and I just churned it up real good and dumped it in the can. Now I'm going to let this set for probably 3 or 4 days, and then I'm going to come out here and probably turn it again. But my whole plan is to start composting so that I can amend my soil. I'm also going to be looking at buying another truckload or two of soil amendment, and if I can, try to get another truckload of rabbit manure. But I'm also, because of the plans that I'm making for the garden, I'm also looking at going ahead and getting maybe a rabbit or two, if nothing else, so that I can uh, have them for producing rabbit manure for the garden. I'm also in the process of getting this spot cleaned up. This is where my shop is going to be, my blacksmith shop. And as you can see, I've got a pile down there that I still need to burn, and I've got a pile of brush here that I got to burn. But I've actually made some progress because you can actually walk through here. Last time I talked to you guys, that pile was up to here. You couldn't walk through there. So that's one of the things I'm working on today also. So I should be able to start building my new blacksmith shop right here, probably in the next few days, which will be good because I want to get it done before spring so that by the time I'm working on the garden, this project is done and over with. And it's going to be, I got to lay out the measurements, but right now I'm looking at possibly a 10 by 12 or a 10 by 14 shop with a wooden floor, with a raised up wooden floor. And off the side of that is going to be an enclosed area, dirt floor, enclosed hopefully by some sort of galvanized roofing metal or something like that for my coal forge and my gas forge. Uh, Hopefully enclosed by my metal so it'd be less likely to catch fire. That way I'll be able to forge protected from rain. I can open the doors and forge on really warm days like today, or on cold days I can kind of close the door and the forge will produce heat and heat up the whole shop for me. Uh, that's the kind of the plan I've got. I just got back from the lumber store from Lowe's. I picked up a bunch of treated lumber for building floor, framing out the floor of the new shed, so our new shop. But that's the kind of stuff that I'm working on today. Uh, I've got a lot more work to do out here. It rained the past couple of days, so I can't do any burning right now. Nothing will burn. But I do have a bunch of brush that I can cut and clear. I can move. I'm going to try to move as much of that as I can down here so that I can burn it later and it won't be taking up the spot for my shop. But those are the kind of projects that I'm looking at and working on today. I'm not really getting any big things done. It's more like a lot of little maintenance stuff that I'm doing today. Turning compost, collecting material for more compost. I'm going to be cutting up all this stuff, moving it, and I'll probably in the next day or two, after it dries up a little bit more, I'll probably go ahead and pull up all my bean poles and all the posts that are out in my garden spot and figure out exactly how I want to lay that out, clear that spot out, and then come early spring before I get ready to plant, I'm going to go over that with a mower, chop up all those weeds that are growing. You can see it way out there. It's all grown up out there. Some of it's knee high. I'll chop up all that and let it sit there for a little while before I till it up. Once I get this cleared out and get my new shop built, I've got a shed over here that's falling apart. That old rundown thing. Me and my dad built that together. I'll be taking that apart, salvaging whatever I can out of that to use on other projects. And that will probably be where I put, once I clear out all those trees and the shrubs, I'll probably put one or two raised beds and probably a miniature greenhouse for seed starting. That's what I'm thinking about putting over there, along with maybe one barrel for rain catchment. I've got several small trees around here that I do need to cut down. I want to give that a couple of days to dry out before I start doing any major cutting. And then I also need to get my bush hog out, crank it up, because I've got all of this right here that I need to go through and cut down and clear out. So I've got a lot of work I'm looking at and thinking about. I got me 2 journals, 2 composition books, so that I can start journaling and what I'm doing, what I need to do, what I want to do, and the results of what I have done so far in my garden and all of my little projects. And I got the idea to do that from my dad, because he raises rabbits and chickens and all kinds of animals, and he kept very meticulous records on when he got a certain animal and how old it was. And I couldn't tell you all the information in those journals, but he keeps detailed records of all of that. But then I've heard somebody talk about Thomas Jefferson's garden book, where he kept a very detailed record of what he was planting, how it worked out, how it was planted, um, how frost affected it, any issues he ran into, and it's a very valued journal of his gardening experience and knowledge. It's not a cheap book. Right now, It's only available in hardback, and the cheapest copy I've seen is about $54 from Amazon. Uh, but I've heard raving reviews about that book, and it's something that I'm looking at getting simply because I'm fascinated with how people did things way back then. Because if the grid ever goes down in a major way, yeah, we've got some conveniences today that will make things a lot easier than it was back then, but we can learn a lot from how they did things back then that could really help us out in the event we ever get into that situation where we don't have power, we don't have gas for generators, we don't have gas for tillers and tractors and what have you. Uh, it's not likely that we'll end up in that situation, but it's it's uh, it's always good to know how things were done before, so that if you have to go back to that method again, you know how. And for me, it's really fascinating to read about that kind of stuff, to learn about that kind of stuff. Uh, I've got another purchase that I've recently made. Should be here in a couple of days. I want to go over that with you guys as well. So that's a video that's going to be coming out. Look forward to that. But I just wanted to give you guys a look at what I'm doing today. Now that the cold weather has kind of snapped, at least for right now, it's warmer, and I've heard a lot of people talking about having cabin fever. I've got cabin fever, so I'm out here doing whatever I can, wherever I can out here in the yard while it's warm and semi-dry. Anyway, that's all I've got. I appreciate you guys watching. Like, share, subscribe if you haven't. And as always, folks, keep prepping. Stay busy. Take care of yourselves and your families. And until next time, folks, I'll catch you later.